And just a few weeks ago, there was a report that Desmond Wolfe was in the doghouse, and today there was a report that he's out of the doghouse. So
the Wolf was in the doghouse.
Yeah.
That sounds dangerous. Alrighty, on the line with us right now, guys, is the Stro, formerly from World Championship Wrestling for WCW, formerly the Maestro. You've been on the show so many times, man. We really appreciate you. You're always a great guest to have on, so we're glad to have you back on one more time.
Thank you so much. My pleasure.
And for those, like I said, for those who don't know, Stro actually posts a lot of what he's doing and keeps a lot of his show updates going on WrestlingEpicenter.com on the newsline. So he posts that for us, and it's a great way if you're looking to keep in contact with the Stro. Of course, you got his website, but you also got our newsline, and you can keep up to date with that too, which is very cool. Anyway, so how you doing tonight, Stro?
Oh, I'm doing great. Just listening to the thunder and lightning outside. We're getting some thunderstorms out on the NC coast here, so.
Oh boy, yeah.
Crazy.
Ironically, we're getting it too, but I live nowhere near you. I'm out in Arizona, and we're about to get hit with what they call monsoons. So we're about to get hit with.
Wow, crazy.
Well, they call it monsoons. It's not really, when I hear monsoon, the first thing I think of is like there's a match between Andre the Giant and Gorilla Monsoon that actually took place
right.
during one, and the ring was flooded. And I remember that, every time I hear the word monsoon, that's what I think of. But this is just really a really bad, treacherous thunderstorm that comes and goes in like 10 minutes. So, alrighty, guys. So the Stro is with us, and Stro, there's a lot of questions I had for you, and one of them actually has to do with your name. And like I mentioned to you off the air, I've been watching a lot of the classic USWA footage from 1995. And back then you were using the name Gorgeous George III. And I wanted to ask you, when you went to WCW, it seems to me that would be something that they would have eaten up, but unfortunately there was already somebody going by that name. Why, was there a struggle over the name for Gorgeous George, or did you happily just change it to Stro?
Oh, yes, definitely. They, it was just like, all this time I was Gorgeous George III, and, in honor and respect to my granduncle from years ago. And, I've been doing Gorgeous George all over the place, from the United States to Puerto Rico to Mexico and all around. And then, I get to WCW, it's like, they wanted the name, but they didn't want myself with the name. They wanted to separate it and give it to, originally give it to Atlantic Poffo, which never panned out, which, I felt that, with his style, he could have carried it very well, don't get me wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And then you had, they hired me as Gorgeous George III, and then a year later, here's Stephanie Beller's doing, given the name by Randy Savage, which kind of perplexed me at the time. So I got together with Eric Bischoff and and put our heads together, and thus Maestro was born, which actually was a throwback from my Gorgeous George III persona, but with more of a musical twist, which naturally I had.
Yeah, because you are classically trained.
So it's, that along with, the amateur and MMA background that I had, it kind of made for a unique character in a sense in which I didn't think the character, the real true meaning of the character didn't come out until towards the end with my feuds with the Cat and, Buff Bagwell, et cetera, where, the Maestro had a stark, sinister side that just, when he would hear bad music or just any certain thing, he would just come out and just go crazy. So, kind of similar to a Family Opera type character.
And that's, of course we're going to talk about James Brown, because that's one of the main things people remember you from. But I do remember there was an episode of Nitro, and at the time of this, WCW was doing a talk show that happened directly following the shows, WCW Live by Jeremy Borash and Bob Ryder. And a lot of times the fans would call in and give their feedback on the shows, and there was the February 14th, and I don't know why I remember that date, maybe just because it was Valentine's Day show. Right. You and Kat were in the segment right before the main event.
Yeah, that's correct.
And people were complaining on the show saying, well, why were these two guys, they're not main eventers, why are they there? And I'm thinking to myself, these are the same people that are begging for new main eventers, and when two guys are given a high up spot on the show, they complain about it.
Yeah, go figure.
Do you find that the internet has been kind of hard to please, or has it been good to you?
Well, I guess it's a love-hate relationship, basically, if you think about it. It has its positives and its negatives, but, at the same time, it can, the positives can be very rewarding, and the fact that, since my WCW run, I mean, the internet's been very good to me, and I've, made a lot of new friends and, fans alike, my travels, not only with the wrestling industry, with the movie industry as well. So, I mean, it's been very cool to meet people from all over the world and to, stay in touch with everyone.
And ironically,
what have you been up to in the world of movies?
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, well...
what have you been up to? Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Pat, real quick. Nick is messaging me, and he's been kicked off the line, so if you could pull him back up, that'd be great.
He has.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yes, he is.
Right.
Okay, let's do that.
I've got 2 horror movies out on DVD right now. One you can get on Amazon.com, one of it out of Australia called Deader Country, which is a zombie flick. And, of course, just type Deader Country in the search on Amazon.com and you can check it out.
What is that one called? What was the name of that one?
Deader Country. It's about the zombies invading Australia.
Very cool.
And actually,
I love zombie movies,
the film, so it's a pretty natural deal.
That's pretty cool. Would something like that be something that we would ever see on Sci-Fi Channel?
Eventually, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure. And I got another one that's out on DVD right now called 12/24. It's a horror movie at Christmas time, basically, and I play the role of the killer in the film, and I'm in there along with the Scream Queen, Tiffany Shepis, and quite a few array of horror genre actors and actresses. So, I mean, it's, the film was directed by Anthony Coliano and Gargo Entertainment, which I'm getting ready to shoot another horror movie with them and in this month called Casa Island. Cameos from myself and, ironically, Buddy Landell.
Buddy Landell?
Yeah.
Wow. Nature Boy of the 90s, really?
Yeah. So that's shaping up to be a pretty good deal. And there's talks and work about them in production about doing a wrestling, kind of like a spoof off the Wrestler movie for next year.
A spoof of the Wrestler? Okay.
With myself playing the main character, but this will be more of a comedy.
Yeah.
More or less. And that's in the works for next year. So the more info I get on them and Anthony Coliano and Garbo Entertainment, I'll definitely let everybody know.
Now, is horror really what you're best at? Do you feel that's one of your strong suits?
Well, so far, I mean, I've done the array of small films and the special appearances of, like, for example, One Tree Hill and all that. And I just got a gangster movie that just came out on DVD now called The Legend of Johnny Smalltie, where it's about a bounty hunter chasing bad guys, driving lords, etc. And I played the role of the mob boss in the film.
Yeah, so you do different things too. That's pretty cool. But that you're not really typecast in any kind of character. Do you feel that you being the wrestler in these movies, do you feel that anybody really wants to use you in that role, except for the spoof on the wrestler? Do you feel that maybe it typecast you or hurt you in any way?
Well, I think the fact that I'm able to been playing different roles throughout different movies that I've been doing, it kind of helps me, break that, that aura, that wrestling aura, I guess, the fact that I guess band is the different realms of film. So, yeah, it's pretty challenging, but it's, I think it's pretty rewarding at the same time, and, I've met some really cool people in the process.
Absolutely, and it seems like you're really doing well, and I'm glad to hear that, because I know that the wrestling business can be a hard nut to crack, and with a lot of, I don't know if you heard about this, one of our former guests actually very recently tried to kill himself, and, I've tried to post blogs and posts and editorials saying to guys, look, there's more into life than just this business. Even though we all love it, you got to remember there's more to life than just this business.
I tell you, so many of our guys, they recently have been to the hospital for different reasons, and it's just, I pray for my brothers every single day, you know what I mean? From Steamboat to Eaton, to Scott Hall, I mean, gosh, so many.
I mean, even Hogan and Triple H have been in the hospital the last couple of weeks, too.
Yeah, it's been nuts.
What's that?
Ricky Steamboat.
Ricky Steamboat, he said Steamboat right at the beginning, and, Steamboat's still in the hospital, and I don't.
And the thing is, here's a guy Ricky Steamboat, who's always taken care of himself, always stayed healthy, and, who'd have thought he would have what he had, in terms of brain and all that. I mean, as far as, like, nerves and aneurysms go, it's like, you know, that's very rare. From the doctors told me that's very rare, that very few people have them.
Yeah.
And the best way to detect it is to CAT scan, because, I mean, you could be physically fit and still have that wrong with you with the brain, so.
It's really weird because that kind of stuff has been going on a lot. It seems, especially for people, I don't know what happens in people's private lives, but, you know, are more well-known people, like even Bret Michaels had that similar situation happen to him recently, and, I mean, he was a high-profile person to have that happen. So, I mean, these kind of things.
The fact that these people can do what they do, like Steamboat and Bret Michaels, and still have that, I mean, they're like walking miracles.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, Bret Michaels especially, he had diabetes as well, and he still did what he did.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, pretty impressive. So you mentioned that you're really spoofing the wrestler. Did you see the original?
Yes, I did, and very well done. I mean, Marissa Tomei, I mean, Mickey Rourke, I mean, you know, Ron Killing, some of the other boys on hand, Necro Butcher was on hand. I mean, it was very well done, and I'm really glad it gave us shed a new light to people watching, you know, about what we go through, you know, other than the glitz and the glamour of it, you know.
Now, I think that movie kind of, we had you on one of our sister shows just days after the Chris Benoit tragedy. And I know that you did dark matches with Chris leading in, and I know you guys probably had a friendship to some degree. And
oh, yeah, we were on the road together, trained together. And it's just, it's a tragic shame how his life ended, because most of his life was just amazing about what he did, and, you know, and what a great athlete he was, and what a testament he was to the wrestling business.
What do you think of they seem to move towards trying to remove him from history in a lot of ways by, you know, not mentioning that he won the Royal Rumble and strange things like that, trying to remove him from the clips and things?
Well, the thing is, even though his life ended the way it did, tragically, I mean, he will always be a part of history. I mean, it's he's already in the books, so really just no use trying to erase something that can't be erased.
Do you think that, what I think actually is that movie, The Wrestler, kind of helped take away the stigma that the Benoit case tend to put on it? Because it seemed like when the Benoit tragedy happened, right after that, the media was on a wrestling feeding frenzy, and they jumped right on Hogan because Nick had the problems that he did, and it seemed to me like it was, okay, wrestling, we're going to get those wrestlers. And it seemed to me like The Wrestler kind of helped stop that.
Yeah. Yeah, it shed a whole new life on the reality part of our industry, what people don't see behind the scenes, the struggles we go through, and all the things we're faced with. And I mean, it's a hard lifestyle. It's something you got to be committed to, like anything else, to be a success at.
Absolutely. Well, you're still in the ring these days, and I know you're working a lot with the NWA as I read your posts. How you faring in there right now?
Pretty good. I just regained the NWA Mountain State Heavyweight Championship.
I did hear about that, yes.
We just read about that right before we signed on.
And I will be representing them at the NWA Legends Fan Fest coming on Charlotte, October 5th through 8th. And it'll be a great event. Of course,
August 5th through 8th.
Chapter, Adam Pearce, Terry and Dory Funk Jr., Sting, and Brian Danielson's getting a shot at the heavyweight championship that Saturday night, from what I hear.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's going to be facing for the NWA championship, and well, what a sympathetic character he is right now, because I think there's not a person on the planet that doesn't think he got the short end of the stick. So, I don't know. So, absolutely. And Greg Price is putting that on, and that is, I think he said October. It's really August 5th through 8th.
August 5th through 8th. That's right.
That's right. Yep. And you'll be there, and are you going to be competing in the wrestling event, or are you just going to be doing the autograph signings?
Well, as far as I know, I'm just doing the autograph signings throughout the weekend, but I mean, you never know. Hey, you even know what to expect. But it's going to be a great time for all the wrestling fans involved. Sure.
All righty. Well, I have to ask you about this because since we talked to you last, unfortunately, we lost James Brown, and I hate to be such a downer because it seems like a lot of people were bringing up people who are no longer with us. But I think one of the things that really stamped your name in memory in people's minds was Super Bowl 2000, when your reaction when James Brown actually came walking down the aisle. Did you ever get the chance to meet the hardest working man in show business?
Oh, absolutely.
And how did you guys get along backstage?
What a class act guy. I mean, it was such an honor and a privilege to be, I mean, in the same pay-per-view, much less in the same building. James Brown, what a class act guy, and to have him involved, you know, for our feud, you know, my feud with the Cat, Ernest Miller, it was great, and I really thought it was a sign of something big, more things to come at the time, and it really made, at the time, it made a really pretty big impact on the company. So, I mean, I was pretty stoked about it.
That was very cool. Ironically, Kevin Sullivan and them were known as guys that didn't push the younger talent and all that. That was kind of their stigma. And then when Bischoff and Russo came back in, it would have been a pretty safe bet that a character that actually had gotten over from the first Russo era to when Kevin Sullivan was booking would be a natural fit for them to continue working with because they were trying to build new talent. And it seemed like that was when they really stopped using you.
Well, you know, it was kind of on again, off again type thing. You know, it's like, but it wasn't just me. It was like a lot of us. You know, we would start one thing and then do something completely different the next because we have a new boss every 2 weeks. It was just like it was crazy. You know, but I mean, we did the best we could. I mean, and at one time before, you know, it really got rough. You know, financially. I mean, we had the most incredible talent array in the entire world, bar none.
There was the Nitro that I'm talking about. You were standing ringside, and then they had everybody that was on the roster standing ringside, except for your, I think they ended up calling them the Millionaires Club, but it was just a lot of the younger talent that was signed to WCW at the time. And when you just look at that ring, all you could think of is, man, this company is just amazing what they had to offer talent-wise.
Oh yeah, bar none. I mean, it's just. And I believe if the Office had kind of worked more together, rather, than, you know, it would still be going today. Absolutely.
So we've just passed through our second Monday Night Wars, and if you can call it that, and unfortunately it didn't work out so well for the company that I think we were all kind of hoping would do something, and that's TNA. What do you think of the state of the business right now, and where do you see it? Do you see it possibly getting back to where we were ever a decade ago, or do you think that time's gone with MMA coming up strong and all that?
Well, time will tell. I mean, you know, TNA still, you know, they're still in the game.
Exactly.
And they, you know, and I tell you, the last couple of impacts I've watched, I mean, they've really stepped up their game as far as TV production and match quality. I mean, and they've got an array of great talent. They're still on hand, and I mean, they still have time to, you know, really come back and really make their way. So I mean, you got them. I mean, you still got Ring of Honor, you know, and you know, you got Dragon's Gate. You know, you got a lot of little promotions that are really, you know, stepping up with their great young talent. And you know, WWE's, you know, they're pushing their young talent too. I mean, I gotta give them that. So. You know, it's got, you know, some time will tell, basically.
Now, you doing the movies and all that you're doing away from the business, but also as part of the business, do you still have the itch to get back on TV for the wrestling side of things, maybe get to WWE, get to TNA?
Oh, absolutely. Always keep my options open. I mean, never say never as far as the wrestling industry goes. So, I mean, I still have, you know, quite a bit left to offer, and, you know, whoever it be, TNA, WWE, etc. You know, I'm game. So there I am.
Now, you changed the name from the Maestro to Stro, and I've always been meaning to ask you this, and I don't think I did in any previous interview. Any reason why?
Well, you know, when I left WCW and all, you know, I kind of was looking for do a little different, kind of more modernized what I was doing at the time, and something different, basically. And a kid come up and gave me the idea about shortening my name to Stro, right?
Right.
You know, he would just come to me every day, hey, Stro, what's up? And, you know, Stro kind of stuck with me. So, you know, that I just took that and went with it.
Very cool.
So WWE doesn't own the name or anything?
I don't know what that name stands, to be honest. I mean, Maybe they do. I don't know.
It'd be kind of tough to trademark such a thing, though, because in addition to it also being an occupation, you can also argue that Seinfeld had that character, the Stro character. So, I mean, it'd be kind of hard to say in the entertainment field that there's no other Stros, Maestros.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I really don't know. I mean, where all that stood. I mean, it just kind of, I'm not sure, but I mean, I'm just rolling with the new Stro, and like I said,
All right, one last story I got to tell you, then I'm going to give you the chance to promote the websites and things of that nature, and maybe give a quick shout out to the fans. Quick story: I actually had Alicia Webb on the show about 2 years ago, and we were talking about you and different things that happened throughout her career. And she said that not long prior to our conversation, our interview with her, she heard a man's voice coming from the computer room in her house. I think she was in Mexico at the time. And it turned out to be her little boy had somehow managed to call you on Skype.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God, yeah. Oh, unbelievable.
So she said that was the first time she had talked to you in a long time, and it happened under such a strange circumstance.
Yeah. I mean, it was great to catch up with her finally. I mean, I haven't, seen her since Atlanta. Yeah, I mean, so, it was weird circumstances how it went about, but hey,
There you go. I thought you might get a kick out of hearing that one. All righty, so you got the website. It's just thestro.com, correct?
Yes, absolutely. And it's got links to my Twitter, Facebook, MySpace, all the happenings, what's going on with me, and some of my trailers, my films.
Absolutely. I've been keeping up with the trailers you've been posting, as well as some of the match clips you've been posting, and a lot of the really cool music you've been posting. As a big classic rock fan myself, I really enjoy every now and again seeing things pop up there. All right, man. Well, I can't thank you enough for stopping by. Be sure and check the Stro out at thestro.com, and check him out on Facebook. He's posting some awesome stuff here and there. And also WrestlingEpicenter.com, because he posts news there for us. And, of course, you can meet him at the NWA Legends Fest this coming August 5th, which is coming up real quick, just a couple weeks away.
Absolutely.
And
thank you guys so much for having me here.
Anytime you want to come on, Stro, and I'll send you a PM about the other thing we were talking about before the show started.
Great. Thank you so much. God bless. Thank you.
God bless. Enjoy the nature's fireworks there.
Hey, you too.
Take it easy. Bye-bye. That was the Stro here on the interactive interview on WrestlingEpicenter.com and Blog Talk Radio. I always love catching up with that guy. He's just got such a nice persona, just a nice, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but outlook on things. He's just a very amicable guy. He kind of reminds me of Jim Powers, and what I said to Jim Powers on the air is that the only reason why he's not a household name had nothing to do with talent. Had everything to do with being just too nice for this business. And unfortunately, there's just some guys out there that are just too nice for this business. Thankfully, I'm not one of them.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'll say this. One thing about Jim Powers that I want to say, and I think I've said it on the show before, but I don't care. One memory that I have of him, I went to a house show in '92, and he wrestled Shawn Michaels in the second match. And Shawn had just turned heel at this point, so he was very early into his Heartbreak Kid, sexy boy phase. And obviously Shawn won the match, but I just always remembered that it was Jim Powers who wrestled Shawn, and that might have been the first time I saw Shawn since he threw Marty through the window. So
I remember vividly. Shortly after Michaels threw Marty through the glass, some of my friends at school kept coming to me and saying, "I heard they're going to change his name to Mr. Leatherman." And I don't know why, but I still remember that and think, my God, that would have been so ridiculously stupid.
Wait.
Can't you think?
Which one?
Shawn Michaels. They were going to change his name to Mr. Leatherman because he started wearing a lot more leather.
Yeah, I remember that thing when he came in like a leather jacket and jeans, and Marty came out in like a red T-shirt, and then Marty's face turned red.
They pulled the Dokken on him. There was a music video, I believe it was Breaking the Chains or Into the Fire by a band that I like called Dokken. And the producers didn't have a lot of money for this music video, right? So they said, okay, you guys are going to jump through this glass window, but don't worry, it's made of sugar glass, so it'll just break away. Well, they're like, all right. only to find out that they just literally jumped through a glass window. They're bleeding all over the place. That's what WWE did. Apparently they did a switcheroo on them, and they weren't sure which one to use, so they just said, the hell with it, and chose one. And it turned out to be the actual glass window that Marty was thrown through.
You're kind of surprised there wasn't a lawsuit filed there.
Well, with Marty's legal trouble, it would have been a good idea to file. I mean, it would be one time to work out to his benefit.
Yeah. I remember that. That was a great moment. That was one of those moments in a very cartoony age for the WWF that was really badass. Like, there was that moment, and there was the snake, the cobra bite to Randy Savage.
You remember when he punched Liz in the face, too?
Yes, Tuesday in Texas.
That was a horrible sell job.
Well, he didn't punch her, he slapped her.
Oh, okay. But he kind of did his whole stomp deal when he did it, too, so it was kind of like, whoa.
Well,
he stomped the foot to give it the extra sound effect kind of thing.
Well, I'm wondering if, I remember when you did an interview with Terry, or somebody on the side did an interview with Terry, and she was talking about when Bubba powerbombed her, and, like, Vince scared the crap out of Bubba, telling him, look, if you hurt her in any way, you're fired. So I wonder if Roberts pulled back on the slap because he didn't want to slap Elizabeth too hard.
That could be.
He said to A-Train. We asked A-Train about this when we interviewed him, but what do you think Vince said to him before going out there to have a match with Stephanie McMahon?
Oh, jeez, I can't imagine. I mean, I don't even remember that match, to be perfectly honest with you. But
Vince is the guy, though, that wanted to have an I Quit with his daughter like 2 days before her actual wedding.
Which I maintain was one of the more embarrassing moments of my life that I found very erotic. That seeing a man choke his daughter with a lead pipe and her face turn red, and I found it erotic.
Yeah.
Not proud about that, but I have to admit it's true.
That is true. Every week I learn something more and more disturbing about you. You find a man choking his daughter erotic, and you have that Chris Benoit tries to kill you, all for Humperdink and Jim Cornette.
Yep. And I also woke up the other morning singing, I think I'll go for a walk outside. Now the summer sun's calling my name. I hear you now, I just can't stay. Brady Bunch, when they performed. And I can actually tell you what the episode was about from that song, which proves that I am either homosexual or very, very weird.
Or you just grew up with the Brady Bunch.
Speaking of bad dreams, I had a horrible one on Sunday night.
Uh-oh.
Oh, I bet.
Oh, and then another one on Monday. I dreamed that Kane was world champion and Bret Hart, Great Khali, and R-Truth were going to main event SummerSlam.
Yeah, horrible dream. And I hate to frighten you, Nick, but it's true. Kane is the world heavyweight champion.
Oh, dear God. Does the WWE want me to go psycho and, like, try to do something insane?
Well, you can run up to Kane and smack him, because I'm pretty sure at his speed he would take like 6 years to catch you.
I'm
pretty sure you cannot run him. That's all I'm saying.
The fact that I've been working out lately and constantly growing love handles on Kane, I think I could actually take him in a shoot.
Oh.
How tall are you, Nick?
Wow.
Wait, I'll say this, when I'm like 6'1".
Oh, okay. So even though you'd probably yeah, you're pretty tall, so you would probably stand somewhat of a chance, but I wouldn't. I'd come up to his navel. But
yeah, well, I'll say this. When Kane goes for the choke slam, all I want to yell is, grab the love handle! He won't be able to get you up!
This is a horrible booking decision on the WWE's part. I didn't think Smackdown could get any worse, but wow, it did.
I did mark for one thing. Is it true that Jack Swagger's father is Bunkhouse Buck?
Yes, as a matter of fact, it is. Apparently, Jack Swagger is a second-generation superstar.
A second-generation superstar? Is he from Bucksnort, Tennessee, though?
Well, it's possible that Buck moved to Oklahoma after his WCW career ended.
Oh.
See, so what I understand is that it's quite possible that Buck was born in Bucktown, Oklahoma, met an Oklahoman woman, had Jack, then spent many years away from him beating up various cameramen in WCW, then returned to help his son become a pro wrestler, which explains Jack's winning record.
That could be. That could be. I never thought of it that way. I do. Jimmy Golden, by the way, is the other gimmick name of Bunkhouse Buck, and very nice gentleman. But his character was always the most ridiculously tough son of a bitch, redneck mother effer that you could ever imagine. He was. I mean, he's no youngster. He is probably 60 now, and that means to me that in WCW he was in his late 40s at that point, even getting his break on national TV, but you never would have really thought it based on his work. He was really good.
I'll be honest, there's only one thing I remember him for, and I don't mean this to be an insult, but he was Scott Hudson's favorite wrestler.
Why was he Scott Hudson's favorite wrestler?
Well, it's actually a joke. Like, WCW had, like, that recap show they would just do in a studio. I think it was called, it was where they stuck Bobby Heenan the last couple of months. Bobby Heenan was there. And unfortunately, I think it was called Saturday Night because they fucking killed that show. But yeah, I think you might be. It wasn't Saturday Night. It was something else. It was like a syndicated show. Well,
worldwide.
It was Hudson and Tenay hosting it, and Tenay would do a weekly classic match. Like he'd select some match from the WCW archives, and every week Hudson would be like, "Is Bunkhouse Buck in it?" And then finally they have like an old fall brawl where he actually was in like the War Games, and Hudson acts like he was having an asthma attack.
No, Bunkhouse Buck, I mean, he was in a stable with Terry Funk and them, and they basically just played these guys that, you know...
He was in Parker's stable, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was in the stud stable.
Now, he was a great manager that doesn't get enough props.
Well, a lot of those guys, and this is what bothers me a lot about the differential between WWE and WCW and TNA now. And for some reason, ECW is somewhat exempt from this rule, but not entirely. And that is that a lot of the great things and the great characters that came out that never competed in WWE, that were in either WCW or TNA, are forgotten a hell of a lot easier than the WWE guys. And I don't know why that is, but it is the case.
WWE survived.
Yeah, you say that, but I mean, when was the last time you saw some of these guys that you remember from WWE? That, you know, I don't know.
Well, I mean, they do their segments every week, This Day in History, and a lot of the time it references their own history.
WWE, yeah, that's a good point. I guess that's some reason. But I mean, look at last week's guest, Oliver Humperdink, right? Mm-hmm. What was the first thing when I said we were having him on the show that you thought? You remembered his WWF run, which lasted all of like 3 days. Or whatever the hell it was. Like 6 months or so, maybe a year at the most.
I forgot to bring this up in the interview. One of those matches he was talking about, the Hogan Bam Bam tag matches against, I think it was DiBiase and Virgil, was actually on the new Hulk Hogan DVD that WWE released about a year ago.
Was it really?
Yeah.
I believe
one of those tag matches.
Didn't they also have it on like Hulkamania 3, maybe?
Possibly. I didn't have any. The only Hulkamania I had was Forever.
Which was really 5. But for whatever reason they...
Yeah.
So in my collection, it goes Hulkamania 1, Hulkamania 2, Hulkamania 3, Hulkamania 4, Hulkamania Forever, Hulkamania 6.
Well, I mean, it's like the Rambo series. It's First Blood Part 2, Rambo, and then Rambo 3. And then just Rambo. Figure that one out.
Now it's just called The Expendables.
I want to see that movie.
That looks good. But they had to have the loud Guns N' Roses music playing in there, because if they didn't, you would hear all the guys starring in the movie's knees popping and stuff.
Well, I mean, not all of them. Jason Statham and Jet Li, I mean, they're, you know, still good. So, I mean, well, Stallone's still a badass.
He still moves like a 20-year-old.
Yeah.
Who's that, Stallone?
No, Torres.
Oh, I think it's going to be a hell of a movie. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah. We keep stepping on each other. Go back and watch the fourth Rambo movie and watch the scene where Stallone's running through the woods. He is booking. I mean, I can't run that fast.
I like that movie. A lot of people didn't, and I do think it went too far. You know, in a lot of the earlier Rambo movies, when they got shot, you'd maybe see a little blood and all that, and they'd fall to the ground. Now you get to see their intestines fly out through the bullet hole. And Jesus Christ, man!
It was awesome. I loved it. You know what? If you didn't like that movie, then you're not a man. That was an ultimate male movie.
That definitely was an ultimate male movie.
Yeah, it was the anti-Twilight.
I read the book to First Blood, and I didn't know they changed the ending for the movie.
Yeah, they did.
What was the ending of the book?
Rambo dies.
In the book, Rambo... Oh, wow. Whoa, that was a hell of a thing. Sorry, I got the baseball game on.
Yeah, well, I think maybe in the novel, that the writer probably thought, well, there's not really anything I can do with this character after he goes nuts and destroys this small town. I've either got to have him wake up and have it all be a bad dream, or I've got to kill him.
He's got to die.
Yeah.
Well, he never counted on Stallone getting that part, though. Because, you know, once you put Stallone in that role, it's like, oh, God, we gotta milk this franchise.
Well, what was, I've only seen one really, well, I'm sure there's been more than one, but I've only seen one Stallone movie where I really didn't like it. And it was Copland.
Oh, there are a lot more. There are worse movies than that.
Which, ironic, that was filmed, like, right where I used to live. Like, I actually know where the water tower was. I could have walked there when they did the that scene where the kid was hiding. But when I watched the movie, it's like, okay, you got Robert De Niro and this whole slew of characters, Sylvester Stallone. This movie should be awesome. Why the hell isn't it?
Well, De Niro's, you know, for a guy with a great reputation, he's been in a lot of shitty movies, too.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. What ones would you say were bad, though?
Rocky and Bullwinkle.
Oh, come on, that's a classic.
That is the worst
that movie was
ever made, and the people behind it deserve to be hung up in the Arizona desert with crows sticking out their eyes.
We bought it.
Terrible.
We bought that movie. It was on sale for like 50 cents. In like and we put it in and we watched the whole thing. And after it, I'm like, okay, I love the cartoon, but that was bad. that was horrible.
Yeah, and I'm in the same boat as you, James. I love the original Rocky and Bullwinkle cartoon. That show was great, but hot damn, that movie was way off.
I don't know how they managed to miss the point so badly. But wow.
Well, I mean, a lot of cartoon-based movies missed the point. I mean, Avatar, which just came out. Well, they couldn't call it Avatar because of James Cameron's movie, but The Last Airbender?
Yeah.
Huge following from the cartoon series, which I've never seen, so I couldn't tell you about it. But movie comes out.
I have a screener of that.
A what?
I have a screener of that on DVD, but we have yet to watch it.
Right.
How is it?
I don't know.
What's the reviews been?
Oh, well, Last Airbender, all negative. Like,
really?
The fans were, like, very disappointed.
Honestly, really?
I haven't seen the movie or the show.
That surprises me.
Why's that?
Well, because that one was actually done and ready to come out at the exact same time that the Avatar that became Avatar came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm stunned that with a movie that was in the can for that long, they managed to make it suck, because you would think that they'd find a way to fix it, because they waited like a year to actually release it.
Right. Well, sometimes when you wait to fix something, you wind up over-fixing it. You think, okay, I'm going to do this, and you take a million steps, then you completely blow the whole thing up.
You could, yeah. That's absolutely true. And even though a lot of rock fans would disagree with me, one of the biggest records of all time, Def Leppard's Hysteria, I think is on that list. Everybody's like, what do you mean? What do I mean? Halfway through the album, there's just a whole lot of stupid-ass sound effects, and this tape starts going backwards. What the fuck? Oh, that's because they waited 8 years to release it. Maybe they shouldn't have. Sorry.
Okay.
Wow, so
Now that I managed to piss off virtually every hockey fan, because for some reason every hockey fan likes Def Leppard. There you go. Let's get back to the basics.
Wrestling, yeah, we've already talked about Kane winning the world title. That was bullshit. But on the complete opposite side of that, the Raw Money in the Bank, I'm very happy with who won that one.
That's right. The Miz is now Mr. Money in the Bank. So maybe they'll finally do something worthwhile with this guy again.
Well, I was thinking, actually, last week before the pay-per-view happened, that what they should do is he should be, since they are teasing that they're going to have somebody of note be the leader of NXT and really take it to the next level, I thought he would be the perfect one, because who else would know about going on stupid-ass reality shows desperate for attention? He'd be the master of that, wouldn't he? So, yeah. I mean, I think he would be a perfect fit, but there you go.
I mean, he'd beat the living hell out of having John Cena be the leader or Triple H being the leader, which is reportedly the plan.
Well, again, we talked about it at the start of the show. You have to take what the internet says with a grain of salt, because a lot of the times they're wrong.
Fair enough. You're right. But it has been reported, and that is one of the speculations, that it would either be not Kane, or Triple H and John Cena. That if those are my two options, I don't like either one of them, because Triple H is just so stale. We all kind of know that NXT would wind up being his lackeys, and with
that's exactly what would happen too. You're exactly
Cena,
right. Yeah, they wouldn't be equal with him; they'd be like his servants. And that's how it would turn out.
Well, that's how it was when he was with Shawn Michaels.
Which I never understood. And that's the sad part to me, is that the end of Shawn Michaels' career is going to be remembered as he was, Triple H's lackey at the end. He was a little bitch.
Well, he was, but the fans know who's the better one.
Well, you guys remember that story that they did with JBL where supposedly Shawn had money troubles?
Yeah.
I have to wonder if some writer backstage thought, well, maybe Shawn has money troubles, and that's why he never said anything to Triple H. Maybe this has to be the lackey.
Who knows? Maybe that's where the story came from. That's possible. I've heard of worse ideas.
Yeah.
Like starting up ECW again in TNA.
Or Kane is world champion, let's be fair.
Kane is world champion. Well, WWE is not exempt. A lot of times, if I don't mention WWE, it's not because I think they're wonderful. It's because I think that they suck so bad that my opinion, bashing them would just be a moot point.
Redundant.
Yeah, redundant, exactly.
And here's the thing with TNA and the ECW thing. I'm not saying the segment came off poorly. I'm just saying I'm in the same boat as James. It's like, okay, we've been down this road before. Why couldn't you try something new? And the way, again, we'll have to wait and see how it plays out, but they're talking about this pay-per-view being like a one-off thing for ECW. And that to me is kind of like was part of my problem with bragging rights from last year where, it was just this unnecessary break in the storyline that served no purpose.
Well, it doesn't make
bragging
sense.
Rights, it was like this brand war that came out of nowhere.
And again, as a fan of the original ECW, if anything came up that would be similar to it, that wouldn't seem like, 3-day-old reheated pizza, I'd probably be, that'd be kind of cool if they did that, and some kind of real revolution. But ECW's impact has been so far overblown by people that it's almost sickening. I mean, yes, it ultimately changed the business, and I don't think anybody can, with validity, argue that it didn't.
Well, talk to Jim Cornette.
What's that again?
Talk to Jim Cornette.
Well, how could you watch a show right now and not see elements of ECW?
He'd find a way.
What's that again?
He'd find a way.
I beg your pardon?
Jim Cornette would find a way.
Well, he'll just... A lot of people, when they're wrong, they just yell the loudest, and they think that makes them right.
And by the way, I love Jim Cornette. I'm just throwing that out there. He's fun to listen to. So even if I disagree with him, yeah,
you don't have to agree with somebody to like them. That's the thing.
Right. Oh, I would hate all my friends because they're Democrats.
That's a problem. Yeah, I don't think I have a lot of friends that are that way too. And it's like a lot of my friends also like these cartoons that I can't stand, and it's like, then why are you friends with them? Like, well, I don't know. Just these are the people I seem to click with, even though I hate what they're into. So who the hell knows?
Yeah. And Bret Hart's back.
The excellence of execution. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
And that statement has now been completely proven false.
Oh.
I don't know. Well, he's not. And it's the same thing with Kane. It's the same thing with ECW. The Hitman, the awesomeness that was Bret the Hitman Hart, who, back in the 90s, I will sit here and I will say that he was my favorite wrestler of all time. The Bret Hart that we saw in the 90s was amazing. But that guy's gone. I mean, he's not the Hitman anymore. And I think it's kind of sad to see him go out there because he's not as good as he used to be. And he can't be. He's a stroke victim.
Right. And by the way, he's actually apparently wrestling a match at Madison Square Garden, and he's going to wrestle at SummerSlam.
Oh my God!
But why would you do that if you? Oh, that's like judging. That's the problem, though. That's like judging. I'm trying to think of who's the dude that can't even stand or talk, but everybody says is a fucking icon in music. I can't remember his name.
Michael Jackson?
No, not Michael Jackson. He's dead. He can't stand or sing. No, I mean,
he moonwalked his way to the grave, and you know it.
They actually had a funny line in Psych last week where the black guy actually is arguing that Michael Jackson's not dead, that it was his marriage to Elvis's daughter that taught him how to fake his own death.
That'd be a hell of a work.
If one guy would be willing to fake his death, I think Michael Jackson would be it. Him or Andy Kaufman.
Yeah, I still expected after when Jim Carrey got the award for Man on the Moon, which I liked as a movie, but everybody else seems to hate. I fully expected Andy Kaufman to get up and accept the award.
I think there are still people that are convinced Andy Kaufman's going to come back. Like someday there's going to be like some award ceremony to honor him, and like Tony Clifton's going to show up, and then he's going to start taking off the makeup, and it's going to be like an old Latka Gravis.
Maybe
speaking of that, I just watched an episode of Taxi the other day. That was a great show.
That was a great show. On WGN, which is a station that seems to be national now, but it's based in Chicago, so you can see a lot of the Cub games there. They have on Sunday night like a retro TV night, which is what Nick and Nat used to be before they decided that they wanted retro to be 5 years ago.
Or a show starring a bunch of old actresses.
That's, we're talking about, what's her name?
Hot in Cleveland.
Hot in Cleveland, yeah, that's TV land, but still I get the premise, yeah.
Well, which, by the way, I'm convinced that's why LeBron James went to Miami.
Oh.
He saw that show, he said, this is so goddamn bad, it's ruined Cleveland forever. I'm going to Miami.
Oh, man. Well, speaking of Cleveland, I do want to talk something wrestling-oriented. In desperation to find wrestling that I can actually sit through, I ordered the sports package through DirecTV, and I now get ESPN Classic, which has a lot of the AWA reruns, which I like watching. And if you actually for those who haven't actually watched the show, they actually show the shows in somewhat of an order, and they're the full shows. They're not clipped as they aired back in like 1988. So it's actually very cool to sit back and go back and watch that.
So wait, are they showing them in a? You're being, because I remember I was watching that and I was watching like something in like an '88, and then the next thing I knew they jumped to like 1990 and the company was clearly on its last legs.
Yeah, they do that from time to time, and it drives me nuts. But they'll go through a spell for about a month of showing, May 29th, June the 6th, June the 13th, June the 20th of 1988. And then, for some reason, kind of like when you played No Mercy on the N64, all of a sudden your character's about to come to the ring and you got some, like, anguloid-looking motherfucker come to the ring with no distinctions whatsoever, no boots, just in black shorts, and his moveset's basically nothing but an elbow. And everything has been reset on your system. That's kind of what they do with that. They just completely hit the reset button and remove, and just kind of jump 2 years ahead or 2 years behind, and it's like, well, I was getting into that story. Why'd you do that? But if you do watch it, though, it's actually very cool to watch, and that's cool to watch. And there's also Pro Wrestling Ohio tying it into Cleveland. Pro Wrestling Ohio is actually an independent on a station called Sports Time Ohio, and it's pretty cool because they're going to have Raven and Hacksaw Jim Duggan coming in to do a show soon. But they got a lot of young guys in their wrestling, and Nick said to me once that he'll watch anything with wrestling. This is actually pretty good stuff. It's not that hard to watch. What I don't get is why they do the hardcore stuff when there's like 13 people in the audience, but when they have the actual wrestling matches, those guys are pretty talented, and some of them I could see going somewhere. So, if for those hungry to find the next generation of WWE superstars or TNA superstars, check out Pro Wrestling Ohio. You'll probably see a couple of those guys in less than a year.
Awesome. I'll say this. The one guy I would like to see TNA or WWE sign wrestles out of Ohio. I don't know if he's with that group, but I say if there's one guy that if like Dixie Carter or Vince McMahon came to me and said, okay, there's one guy on the independent scene we should sign, I would recommend one guy. His name is John Moxley. I know he's originally out of the Ohio area.
John Moxley. No, I don't know if he works there or not. I don't recognize the name. The one that I've liked actually is not responded to my interview request. I wanted to actually have him on the show because I actually really like this guy. He does. You wouldn't think that he'd be my style of worker, but he brings a lot of psychology to the flippy, and I actually like that. And his name is Omega Aaron Draven, and he's actually very good. Very good. He's got a
Omega Aaron Draven.
Omega Aaron Draven. That's right. Yeah.
That's a pretty cool name. Anything with Omega in it is pretty cool.
And he's got a good look. I mean, he's not overly big, and for some reason, I like my wrestlers to have long hair. I don't know why that is, but he doesn't have that. But he looks solid, and I think with some repackaging, he could really be something good. So keep an eye out for that guy.
All right. Cool.
His finisher is that move in what's that game? Day of Reckoning. Do you know that move on Day of Reckoning that you never actually see guys do, where they do the backflip like rock bottom thing, that similar to what Paul Burchill used to do, the backflip suplex deal?
It's the flux capacitor.
Really, from the top rope?
Kazarian does it, yeah.
Does he? Oh, okay. Never mind. Forget I said it. You're right. I stand corrected.
I was really happy that Day of Reckoning put that in there. I was able to create Kazarian pretty easily.
It's a hell of a move. I wouldn't take it. Not only are you taking a suplex in that move, but you got to have the potential awkward landing of the guy on top of you too. So I wouldn't take that move.
I would take it from a solid worker. I would not take it from somebody like R-Truth, but I would take it from somebody like Kazarian or AJ or somebody like that.
Well, let's be honest. Would you really trust R-Truth with giving you a slap across the face?
I don't know. Who else is a really sloppy worker that sucks? Can't think of anybody. But Yeah, Rob Terry. Yeah, he's another one. I wouldn't take shit from him. I like the most bare bones.
I'd like to see him try that move because I think he'd probably kill himself.
Oh, that's nice.
No, I don't want to see him die, but I'd like to see him try the move. He'd probably land on his head or some shit and get injured or something. I don't know. But Rob Terry's he's Greenberg. I don't understand the obsession with this guy. I really don't get it.
Well, he's been being pushed lately.
Well, they had to. I mean, come on. Everything they give him where they try to make him look like a monster, he either can't do it or looks like shit doing it. So. Now, remember when he was going to come in and like press slam everybody and throw them all around and beat them all up, and he couldn't lift like Desmond Wolfe over his head?
Well, that was because Wolfe hated him.
You think so?
Watch it again and watch it closely. It's pretty clear Wolfe decided to be Bob Holly.
Maybe he didn't want to take it from him, but who knows? But they're taking the belt away from him tomorrow night. Sorry, spoiler. Sorry about giving away that, without saying anything. But yeah,
who's you losing it to?
Title. AJ.
Okay, well that might breathe some life back in the belt because the belt is kind of stagnated.
The belt has never really gotten on track. They've had it for Booker brought it in about a year and a half ago, and they've done almost nothing with it.
Which I never understood why. Maybe it was a stupid name to start out, the Legends title, but now that it's the global title, it might actually mean something. I mean, why is it, I don't know, why can't they get a second belt going? I don't understand that. That means anything, anyway. They got the depth of talent.
Yeah, they have plenty of talent that could hold that belt. Matt Morgan, Hernandez, Desmond Wolfe, Magnus, Anderson, Pope, a lot of guys.
Seems like everybody's in the world title picture though, and nobody's in the. If they go back to the old school days of WCW, and I know Ring of Honor is doing it now, and TNA's trying to do it with the countdowns and stuff. In theory, the U.S. champion was pretty much the default number one contender for the world title. But they always managed to find a way to keep it where the U.S. champion was very important, but somehow just slightly less important than the world champion.
Right.
And I think that's what they need to try and do with this global belt and try to create some kind of a system with it. Because right now it's just kind of like it's stagnant. But maybe having AJ hold it will do something to it. Yeah.
Yeah. It might kind of be considered the centerpiece of the Fortune stable since AJ is now officially in that, and they can kind of build Fortune around that title. Or, at least having like one guy try and keep it in the family and then go from there with that idea.
This is true.
Yeah.
So do we want to talk about anything else before I jump off the line?
Well, I got a surprise for you two.
Uh-oh.
Okay, I'm afraid.
No, I'm not going to, nothing scary or anything. James,
Patrick's going to be a daddy. No, I'm just kidding.
Yes, I'm going to be a daddy. And it will be a horrible mutant baby that will conquer the world. Yeah. But
you're going to give birth to Obama?
What?
You're going to give birth to Obama? Sorry.
Ooh. James, remember we were talking earlier today and I was talking about making YouTube videos for the site?
Uh-huh.
Surprise, I already made one.
Oh, did you?
I did. I made it on Saturday.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, look it up.
Cool. What's it called?
What's the title? I'm on my YouTube page right now. Let's look it up. I think James will like it. I don't think Nick will like me too much after this, but
Uh-oh, he's negative towards TNA.
A little bit, yeah. ECW gets sloppy seconds, and WWE doesn't have my money in the bank.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah.
ECW gets sloppy seconds. Ooh, that kind of plays off of the one-night stand deal.
That's why I use it.
Ooh, I like it. Very sleepy, yeah. I like it, yes.
I think, if anything, I stole it from you, because I remember when they were doing the second one-night stand, you said that's what it should have been called.
Sloppy Seconds. Yeah, I knew I liked it. If I ever make a band, which I probably should do one day, my second album, my sophomore album, will be called Sloppy Seconds. It has to be. There's too perfect of a title.
Yeah. It's good. It's good. So, yeah, you can look that up on YouTube. I plan on doing more of them, and I was hoping I could post them on the site.
Okay, yeah. I mean, if you there is a on your YouTube account, there should be a click that says embed, like a code in there. If you copy that code and just paste it into the news posting program, that will embed the video file on your post on the newsline.
Nice.
So that will work for you, yeah.
Oh boy.
So this should be interesting. I'll have to get a camera going and do it myself, though. I've always been against kind of showing myself on camera as much as possible.
Well, I wear sunglasses and a hat the whole time, so I'm not even, half my face is hidden.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, for the most part, I only have, one picture of me out there, which is on my Twitter and my Facebook page. If I were to ever do it, I'd have to get,
There is a picture of me I will be posting at some point. I'm standing in front of a green and black rock wall. It's a dark picture, and I got sunglasses on and my Kiss T-shirt, one of many, and I'm giving the D.O. metal sign, and that will probably end up being my Facebook picture for the next 6 years, as soon as I'm able to get it off the camera and onto the computer. But yeah.
Speaking of James,
what's that?
2 years ago, I sent you and Cassie a picture of me to use for the website, and it's never been uploaded.
It hasn't been. What is it still? Do we still have picture unavailable? Really? I'm going to have to update that. We haven't updated the contacts page in forever. Stro's on there. Missy's on there. They still contribute to the site, but there's people like Rooney still on there.
I think.
Eric's on there?
Chris Ferguson's still on there. Yandik's still on there.
Yandick still sends their shit here and there, but Ferguson hasn't done anything for us in a year and 2 years, yeah. It's a shame. He was a good guy. He came to my wedding. I liked him a lot, but I think he got a paying job with his paper and lost the interest in doing stuff with the site. So, oh well.
Julian Radbourne, who's that?
He still posts. He's the Two Sheds. He posts a lot of the.
Oh, he's that guy. Okay.
Yep.
My God.
What's that?
You got my green meanie picture on there.
Yeah, I'll have to update it with you. I hate to say this to you, Pat. The first time I saw your new picture.
Which one?
The new one that you have on Facebook, your picture of you.
Yeah.
I thought it was Feinstein. just for a split second, I thought.
Are you saying I look like a homosexual kitty diddler?
No, I
I'm not trying to be offensive. That's what he is. He likes very, very young men.
Oh, man.
13, 14-year-old. What was that classic line in the chat? The kid tells him...
It was...
I'll pretend you said 18 or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, we all do stupid things. It's just a matter of how far you take it. And
right.
If he was actually going to meet this kid, then that was probably one step further than I can probably forgive. But there you go.
Well, there's stupidity, and then there's just being a fucking jackass.
You're right. And everybody's like, oh, he's gay, and I was the only one to make this line, and Eric will probably still tell you it's the best line I ever had. It's not that he's gay that's the problem. It's that he was trying to get with a kid.
There's a difference between being gay and being a child molester.
There you go.
Yeah,
all right,
absolutely.
guys. I'm going to jump off, okay?
On that wonderful note, child molesters. We cover all topics here on this show.
Have a good night, guys.
All right, night, James. All right, that was James Walsh, the head guy over at WrestlingEpicenter.com. And Nick, you and I are on the line. We've got 46 minutes left. What do you want to talk about?
Well, we might as well talk about and do a review in the interest of fairness. Let's talk about Money in the Bank, but just first, let me get my scotch.
Yeah, now, I'll be honest, I didn't see the show, so I'm only going by the results here. You know what, I still don't... Who won the women's matches? I don't even know who won those matches. Not that I care, but...
The women's matches, the champions both retained.
Okay.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it was the first ever Money in the Bank ladder match featuring the 7th and 8th Money in the Bank ladder matches themselves. Wrap that around your head. So of course, the new gimmick pay-per-view from the WWE. We touched on it last week, and it's accurate that the problem is when you pad a card so much in one match, you put so many of the guys in one match, it hurts the rest of the card.
Yeah, well, we saw it with No Way Out. Well, not Elimination Chamber this year. We saw it with that pay-per-view where, you know, they put everything into the two chamber matches, and it really felt like they were stretching for time with the rest of the card. Like, everything else was just filling time.
Right. So the first match of the night was the Smackdown Money in the Bank ladder match. It was Kofi Kingston, Dolph Ziggler, Christian, Cody Rhodes, Matt Hardy, Drew McIntyre, and Fat and Fatter, Big Show and Kane. Kane and Big Show. So, it was a good Money in the Bank ladder match. I mean, by that standard, I mean, you're not going to judge this like you would judge a one-on-one match between, like, AJ and Samoa Joe. You know, it was a good, high spot, heavy match.
Or even a one-on-one, even a one-on-one, or even a tag team grudge match, ladder match, like Edge and Christian versus the Hardys. When you have 8 guys that aren't really feuding in a giant spot fest match, there isn't a whole lot of storyline investment in it. You just want to watch it for A, pretty spots, and B, whoever wins. So.
Right. Kind of the most interesting what they did was they had Big Show bring out this big, super built ladder, which he claimed could hold 2 tons. Which actually kind of...
He needed it.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, though, they stored it under the ring, and then when Big Show was trying to get it in the ring, it took like 7 minutes. That kind of just killed the crowd because everyone was just sitting there like, okay, get it in the ring, get it in the ring, get it in the ring. Yeah, so unfortunately, the worst possible option won this match, and that was Kane. I mean, I've said it a million times. I've called Kane a slug. I called him washed up. He only had a couple of good years, and that was over a decade ago. Why would you waste an opportunity to get McIntyre back on track? Or get, Dolph Ziggler back on track? Or elevate Kofi? Or elevate Christian? Or elevate Cody? Even give Matt the chance that some fans would probably love for him to have. But instead they give it to Kane.
Yeah, and it only gets worse from here. But we already touched on it at the start of the show. But yeah, I couldn't believe it when I read that. I was like, you have got to be kidding me.
Yes. Up next was the Divas Championship, Eve Torres versus Alicia Fox. All you need to know is Fox retained in a bad match.
Yeah, I'm hearing those matches suck.
Yeah. Then up next was the Unified Tag Team Championship, which at this point they really need to keep calling it the Unified Tag Team titles. Can't they just go to the World Tag Team titles?
Yeah, why have they? No, they haven't. They haven't even switched to having one set of belts yet.
Right. Well, Lance Storm made a good point, but I don't think it really sticks anymore because it's just been so much time now that in boxing, when a guy wins multiple championships, he carries around multiple belts. The problem is, though, they're not defending these belts as separate entities anymore. It's just one championship, and now it just seems like you either awkwardly have, both guys carry, each guy trying to carry 2 belts. Or, in the Hart Dynasty's case, they each carry 1 belt, and Natalia carries the other 2.
Right.
So, yes, it was the Hart Dynasty with Natalia defending against the Usos. With Tamina, unfortunately, my dream did not come true. Dog the Bounty Hunter did not make an appearance to arrest Tamina. I mean, it was a good but I mean, it wasn't anything too spectacular.
Right. Well, out of WWE's tag team division, all you can really hope for at this point is solid. You're really not going to get anything really, really good out of their tag team division in this day and age because they put no effort into it. So anything respectable is decent at this point.
Unfortunately, it kind of appears this feud is now over. Just the way they were talking, they were like, wow, the Hearts really took care of business tonight. And apparently their rematch comes on Superstars.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, I mean, WWE, they like to do the same match 900 times in a row. So, don't be surprised if you see them face off at SummerSlam.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, so here we go. Then up next was the World Heavyweight Championship match, Rey Mysterio versus Jack Swagger. It had some good points. It had some bad points. Basically, the story of the match was Rey came in hurt and Swagger went after his leg. And then basically this match can be classified best as Kurt Angle light versus Eddie Guerrero light.
I'm hearing they stole the finish from WrestleMania 20. Is that right?
Yep, exact same thing. Rey unloosened his boots, and Swagger went for the ankle lock, and Rey rolled him up when the boot came out, and basically even Michael Cole called it. He said, he must have remembered his good friend Eddie Guerrero did that.
Yeah. Well, it's nice that they at least acknowledge that, because normally when they do things like that, they expect us to not remember that they've done it once or twice or 16 times before, so... Yeah.
Yeah. So, Rey Mysterio retains the World Heavyweight title, and then up next, out came, post-match, Swagger beat him up, and then Kane came out to run him down, and then Kane came back out with his music, and a referee cashed in his Money in the Bank ladder match, and is now a World Heavyweight Champion.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God, oh, God. Yeah, it seems we got to be careful about saying the word Smackdown can't get any worse, because every time it gets worse. It's like in a yard. You never say that it's quiet. We can't say Smackdown can't get any worse, because then we will jinx them. Next thing we know, Hornswoggle will be the #1 contender.
It is unbelievable that they actually went through with this decision. I am just stunned. I can't believe that they did this.
Yeah.
And what can come out of this? We're going to see Kane and Undertaker again. Whoop-de-friggin' do.
Well, all right. Spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Apparently the World Heavyweight title match for SummerSlam will be Kane versus Rey Mysterio, which we all know those matches. Yeah. No reason to get excited.
Well, again, we're still going to get Kane and Undertaker at some point, because we all know Kane is the one that attacked him.
Right. But afterwards, Kane should have to apologize to Bunkhouse Bunk.
Yeah, I heard he took a shellacking.
Yeah. So, so Kane's now World Heavyweight Champion. Expect him and Rey to face off. I said this the last time they feuded. I pray to God WWE makes it an eating contest, because that would be interesting. Yes. Oh man. You have Kane with his massive love handles, and you have Rey with his ever-growing little body, and yeah, that's about it.
Well, Rey's in better shape than he was. I remember when he worked that one Raw match. I think it was against Santino Marella, and he was injured, and they brought him out to do that one match, and he looked horrible. I was like, I can't believe they let him go out there.
Well, for some reason, they were under the assumption that he had to debut on Raw that night, even though he was injured.
Mm-hmm. And he was not in shape. And, that's not really his fault. I mean, if he's injured, he can't really work out. So, no. I mean, that that left us a very bad impression of Rey, because he won that match and he disappeared again. So it was like, oh, God, that was not good.
Which, ironically, I think that was then they wrote it out that Kane had attacked. Like, that's when Kane went crazy and started walking around with a bag that ultimately was revealed to have Rey's mask in it.
Yeah, that dumb storyline, yeah.
And
if there's a silver lining to this, I'm hearing that the reason they went through with this decision to put the world title on Kane is that he's retiring soon. Why they feel the need to do this, I don't think Kane needs a world title anyway, and his character and his ability doesn't warrant it at this point. But you know what? He'll be gone soon, and the bastardization of what was once a cool character can stop now.
Well, here's the thing. If he's retiring, buy him a watch.
Yeah, but then he'll go crazy and hook a bomb up to a bus.
Oh.
Keanu Reeves and Sandra Bullock in it. Can't do that. If I learned anything from Speed, it's that never give anybody a watch as a retirement gift.
Well, if he's going to announce he's retiring, I think it might be different.
Yeah, maybe.
Wasn't the guy forced into retirement?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, okay, he was Jefferson. Apparently Kane wants to retire, so give him a watch, maybe have a party.
Yeah.
Don't give him the World Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah, it's another one of those disturbing trends. It's the same thing as Bret Hart winning the U.S. title. It's the same thing as, God, we talked about it when Undertaker won the title last year, and when the band won the tag titles. There's just no reason for nostalgia is not a good enough reason to throw your storylines down the drain. Granted, SmackDown had no storylines heading into this pay-per-view anyway, but it's like you don't hurt the show and throw everything to the side just for a nostalgia run which is essentially, at this point, a retirement gift to Kane. I mean, there's no excuse to make your show look bad just to, throw a bone to one of your old guys.
And here's the thing, we don't know for sure he's retiring.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, if they're willing to give me a World Heavyweight title, why the hell would I retire?
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, up next is a match that disproves a myth. Because up next was a women's championship match between Layla and Bimbo Bimbo. Now, ladies and gentlemen,
I bet it was awesome.
I always hear that these two have improved so much since those shitty matches they had in WCW. Well, that's false because this match was one of the worst on tape in pay-per-view history. It was horrible, awful, botched spots galore. So the myth that these two idiots have improved, false. That's all I wrote.
Now, let me ask this. How does it rank up? Because two of the worst women's matches I've seen in the last couple years or so were the WrestleMania 26 tag match. That match was horrible. And that one had some talented girls in it, but that match was absolutely horrendous. And the Jenna and Sharmell at Victory Road. Where does it rank up against those two?
Jenna and Sharmell. Jenna and Sharmell. Yeah, it ranks right there. Only there's not.
But it's as bad as those two.
Right. Which, by the way, it's actually worse because the idea is these two, one of these women is supposed to be the champion. I mean, say what you want about Jenna Morosco and Sharmell, they were not Knockouts champions. The WrestleMania 26 match, I think, was pretty much dead because they had to get Vicky's big hog splash in there.
Which she couldn't even do that right.
Yeah. But that was the only time I'll ever feel bad for Bimbo Bimbo. Watch the end of that match, ladies and gentlemen. Vicky she blows it, and then she just gets up and starts jumping on Bimbo Bimbo.
Vicky couldn't even pin her. It was...
It's like, Vicky, if anyone should be treating anybody like if there should be a trampoline situation in this, Kelly should be jumping on you. I know that sounds, but hey, that's nice for me when I talk about the WWE Women's Division. So moving on to probably the best match of the whole night, which was Randy Orton, Ted DiBiase, John Morrison, Chris Jericho, Evan Bourne, Edge, and unfortunately Mark Henry for some reason in the Raw Money in the Bank match.
Best result of the night, definitely, by far. Yeah.
I would say it kind of ranks up there with the first Money in the Bank ladder match from the night, where, you know, you have a bunch of guys that really aren't feuding. I mean, Morrison and DiBiase have an issue. Jericho's kind of worked with Bourne, and it seems like they're trying to restart his feud with Edge, and then Bourne's been feuding with Edge for a little bit. You know, and Miz and Mark Henry have an issue, but none of these guys have like a feud that actually links them all together. So, I mean, it was really more of a spot fest. Miz winds up winning the match. All I can think is, thank God.
Yeah, WWE got one right. Miz, Mr. Money in the Bank, and I totally agree with the decision. Absolutely.
Right. I very rarely honestly smile about a WWE result. So congrats to the Miz. And
now, we'll see if they ever, you know, because I can see them doing something where Miz is the first one to lose the Money in the Bank match. Where he cashes in.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're probably right about that, where where I could just see them doing that. Which is so unfortunate because, I mean, Miz may not be the greatest in-ring worker, although he's actually a lot better than people give him credit for. But he's got money on the microphone. You know, he's got a good look. You know, he can make people hate him by pretty much just coming out and giving, you know, a look. So, right. You know, it's like run with this guy. You know, I said it before, the most interesting feud Cena's had in a long time was his feud with Miz, and that was primarily because Miz got carried it alone at first.
Yeah, yeah. And Miz was the babyface. I don't care what. You know, because that's kind of the problem with Cena is that whenever they try to paint somebody as the heel, because I hate Cena so much, but whoever's making fun of Cena or attacking him just winds up looking like the babyface in my eyes. So Miz, I was like, yeah, insult him. He's awesome. Miz is awesome. Cena sucks. Yeah.
Like, you notice how Miz seems to feud with, like, the worst wrestlers, and he winds up being a bigger babyface every time? I mean, he beats up Mark Henry, he costs R-Truth, his spot of Money in the Bank, and then, you know, the feud with Cena, it's like, Miz seems to be the great guy, the great eliminator of wrestlers we don't like here on the Epicenter.
Yeah!
Yeah. Yeah, so then up next was the main event of the night, which was a steel cage match between Sheamus and John Cena. Now, of course, the point of a steel cage match is the idea that the steel cage will not allow anyone to interfere.
Well, that didn't happen.
Yeah. 9 times out of 10 in any wrestling promotion, whether you're talking, Memphis wrestling in the 70s or WWE and TNA today, somebody interferes. And that's exactly what we got, where the Nexus ran out and they prevented John Cena from escaping, allowing Sheamus to escape.
Yeah, I'm hearing the match wasn't that good either.
Of course it wasn't that good. It's John Cena and Sheamus. I mean, these two are yet to have a good match together.
Well, yeah. Yeah, it's, like, I'm looking on the message board right now. Who is Bret Hart going to be wrestling? Okay. He's teaming with, against members of the Nexus. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, Bret Hart. Wrestling in MSG against Nexus. That's great. That is great. But, yeah, I don't really have anything to say about the cage match. If you were to ask me which guy I would have rather had walk out with the world title or the WWE title, it would be Sheamus, but I'm not overly invested in, I'm not invested in him either. So there really wasn't a good option either way.
I mean, you just talked about how whenever John Cena feuds with a guy, he always winds up being a babyface in your eyes, and it just continues with Sheamus. I mean, it's not that, that we think he's a great champion or we think that, he's ready. I mean, I would still argue that he's not ready yet to be world champion. If anything, I think he used to be at the U.S. championship level still.
Right. Well, he was never at that point. He just he showed up on Raw, beat up J.B. Noble, beat up Jerry Lawler, then all of a sudden he's number one contender.
Right. I mean, there was at least some explanation where he had won a battle royal, but still, it's like, just jump a guy to that spot already. I mean, it 9 times out of 10, it doesn't work if you push a guy way too quickly. They've gotten kind of lucky, and he hasn't really fallen on his face, but, it's just,
He hasn't been that great either.
He's an alternative to John Cena. That's his biggest plus. He's a guy holding the WWE Championship not named John Cena.
Yep.
And we're hopeful
and that's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That was Money in the Bank. And, of course, on Monday they started the build to SummerSlam.
Yeah, we've got our two main events, or at least on the Raw side of things. We've got Sheamus versus Randy Orton for the WWE title, which, again, that's probably the best possible match they could do. By the way, I really enjoyed the three-way on Raw between Edge, Jericho, and Orton.
You know what? I'll be honest. I think it's just because Edge's character has become so stagnant because they failed in his face turn, and Jericho. I mean, I love Jericho, but I mean, he's been a heel for a while now. In terms of like a storyline investment, I wasn't all that interested. I agree with you; it was a good match, but I mean, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever.
Well, everybody and their grandmother knew Orton was going to win. I mean, that was an obvious win for Randy Orton because it's not going to be Jericho or Edge. It's not going to be a heel facing Sheamus. So
yeah. Which I mean, we saw. Remember, they did have a match back at Royal Rumble when Orton was kind of starting to turn face.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't say it was a great match at Royal Rumble. Maybe it will be helped now more that Randy is clearly on the face side of things, even though he still kind of walks the line. They've booked him as a face the last couple months. There won't be any confusion of, okay, this is the bad guy and this is the bad guy too.
And I'll say this, Randy Orton, the fact that they haven't watered him down and turned him into their standard WWE babyface has made him the most interesting babyface in the company. And he's over as hell, but people are digging Randy Orton. By the way, we didn't talk about this on last week's show, but that spot at the end of last week's Raw where he countered Evan Bourne's shooting star press into an RKO was absolutely amazing.
Right. Now, there's only one thing I would change about Orton. I would have him cut down a lot of the stuff he does before the RKO.
Oh, the acting like a Viper stuff and pounding the mat. Yeah, that stuff is ridiculous.
Well, I said this on Twitter, and a lot of people agree with me. It was that I said he looks like a child throwing a temper tantrum.
Mm-hmm.
When he goes down to the mat pounding, I mean, I'm okay. I want to make this clear. I'm okay with the idea of a guy signaling for his spot. I remember Diamond Dallas Page used to do the same thing with Diamond Cutter, and Luger had his call for the torture rack, and Sting would pound on his chest, and all that different stuff. I mean, I'm fine with that, but I think all the stuff, dropping to the mat and pounding on it, is kind of the way he looks. It's like, do one thing, maybe like get down and hit the mat once. You don't have to do, like, all the pounding.
Right.
Because it really just seems like he's stalling for time to allow Michael Cole to say, "And the apex predator of the WWE."
By the way, Michael Cole, he is absolutely terrible. I just put over how much I enjoyed the three-way, but his commentary, it is so obvious that Vince is feeding him lines. Okay, there are all these names and subtitles for so many wrestlers, like, I think, what did he call him? He called Edge like the ultimate psychologist or something. I don't remember what it was, but the ultimate opportunist, the apex predator, and this name, and this guy's called this, and all these like names that you try to force down our throats. It's like, good God, and they'll say it like 100 times because they think we're too stupid to remember it.
Right. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, you can have a nickname, obviously. I mean, Sting was called the Man Called Sting, and we call AJ the Phenomenal One, and, they would call Hulk Hogan the Incredible Hulk Hogan, and stuff like that, but it's like, there comes a point where it gets ridiculous,
Mm-hmm.
Roman did not go, the Incredible Hulk, 900 times.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah.
What does it even mean, the apex predator?
Yeah. I agree with you. Michael Cole sucks.
He's terrible. He is not good.
Which really worries me. I'm still afraid he's going to wind up being the Raw GM.
I don't even care who the Raw GM is, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's so one main event at SummerSlam is the WWE title match. The other main event is going to be the Nexus versus John Cena, Edge, Chris Jericho, R-Truth, Great Khali, John Morrison, and Bret Hart.
Holy shit. That seems terrible. Well,
seems like the
most Jericho good.
Pro wrestling. I mean, like, Edge makes sense because he got attacked that night. So does Chris Jericho. But I mean, like, even Morrison makes sense, and Bret Hart, I could at least justify that, it was the Nexus that took him out and cost him his job as Raw GM. But it's like, R-Truth and Great Khali, did they just draw, like, their names out of a hat backstage?
Yeah. Wow. That'll probably be the main event to the pay-per-view, because I don't see Sheamus and Randy Orton closing. Yeah, and I definitely don't see Kane and Ray closing.
Yeah. Unless The Undertaker comes back.
Yes, because as we saw in Royal Rumble 06, an Undertaker return is justification for a shitty main event.
Right. Oh, God. Well, because they wanted to do all that stuff with it. They wanted the ring to fall down, and obviously now you can't do a Royal Rumble.
Yeah. It's like, because Taker has to blow the ring up, we have to have Kurt Angle versus Mark Henry as the main event, which was one of the worst main events in pay-per-view history.
Oh, okay. Although I'm sure Undertaker's ego thought to himself, like, well, yeah, my return is better than the Royal Rumble. For all the compliments he gets as a locker room leader, trust me, Undertaker is very similar to Triple H.
Well, I mean, he had a chance to do the right thing last year. He had a chance to put over Punk in Hell in a Cell, establish Punk as the top guy on SmackDown, and he didn't do it. So, and here we go again. He works hard at Mania, disappears for most of the year. Then he'll come back. He's going to beat Kane for the world title. I think we all see that coming a mile away.
Right.
And what's the point of him winning a world title at this point? It's so sad because for a long time Taker was one of those guys. He was one of those top stars that didn't need a world title. He stayed out of the title picture most of the time because an Undertaker match is a main event in of itself. He didn't need to be in the world title picture. And
right.
Well, since 07, I think he's won it like 5 or 6 more times.
Right. And, compare it to what we thought last year with SummerSlam. Go back, everybody, and listen to the show 1 year ago and how excited we were for SummerSlam because it was going to be the climax of the CM Punk Jeff Hardy feud. How excited we were, how pumped we were. And now this year, you know what? I'll say it. I would rather they cancel SummerSlam than try to have this card. Because right now it's not shaping up to be good.
No, I don't care about the 2 world title matches. I think Orton should go over. If we're going to say that, I think Orton, like I said, he is the top babyface in the WWE right now. He's the most interesting character in the WWE right now, at least on the babyface side of things. And interesting babyfaces is something that they have not had. They really don't have much of because they're either, smiling, one-dimensional idiots, or they are John Cena.
Right.
It's basically just a billboard for WWE Shop Zone.
Yeah, and you're telling me John Cena isn't just a smiling, one-dimensional billboard? John Cena is the poster boy of smiling, one-dimensional baby faces.
Right, and you also have the veterans who are like Triple H, Undertaker, and I'll even throw Shawn Michaels in there, even though I love him. These are the guys that are veterans that are doing the same song and dance that they were doing, 10, 15 years ago. Right. Those are their baby faces. It's either old veterans or it's one-dimensional smiling baby faces. And John Cena. So Orton is the only one that really goes against the grain there, and I think fans are digging him. I watched Raw. Fans are really digging Randy Orton, and I think he's somebody worth investing in at this point because there's really nothing else they have that's, anywhere near interesting on the babyface side of things.
Right. I mean, really, I think to a certain extent they kind of lucked into Orton, where I think the fact that he turned babyface was more just that he had been heel so long, there was nothing else for him to do as a heel, and the fans kind of, I think, picked him over Ted and Cody.
Yeah, and I think Orton's at a point now in the company where, when he first turned face in 04, it was a disaster. Because they turned him into the exact same thing. They turned him into that smiling baby face. He has to have a girlfriend, and he has to respect everybody, and he has to be a good guy, drink his milk and all that stuff. And it didn't work. He went against everything that had been. First of all, he never should have been turned face in the first place. That was mistake number one. And number two, he was not right. They turned him into very bland and one-dimensional, and it fell apart at the seams. Now I think he's at a point in the company where he has a little bit of stroke, and he can handle his character the way he wants to. So, and I think the Randy Orton that you're seeing now is closer to what he wants to be than what Vince wants him to be.
That's obvious. I mean, they always say the best wrestling personalities are the ones where they take the actual person and just turn it up to 11. And I think, this is Randy Orton in a way. I don't want to say that he goes around kicking people in the head, but I mean, he's kind of an aggressive guy in real life, and he's a very aggressive wrestler, and this is kind of how he wants to be portrayed, and I think it works out for him now that he's able to do it as a good guy.
Right.
So I agree with you. It works to go over, and, it'd be nice to finally have like an interesting babyface champion again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
go ahead.
As you said, it's John Cena, and then when a heel wins the belt, we just know they're waiting to drop the belt back to John Cena.
Yeah, well, Batista this year. I mean, It was like, he's just going to lose this. And Sheamus even, it's like, when Sheamus won, it's like, okay, either Triple H or John Cena are going to beat him. And Sheamus loses the belt in the Elimination Chamber, and who are the last two guys? Triple H and John Cena. It's like, whoop-de-doo. Then Batista wins it, and it's like, well, Cena's going to win it back in Mania. So, whatever.
Definitely, oh, boy. Yeah, so that's basically the world of wrestling right now, folks.
Yeah, SummerSlam not looking too good. I think the best thing that could come out of that paper, based on the card, these are the three main events. Kane's going to retain, because like I said, Taker is going to beat him for the belt. I think that's pretty obvious. I'll be shocked if that doesn't happen. And Nexus versus Cena's team, I really don't. This Nexus storyline, it started off really cool, but it is really, really cooled off.
Oh, well, apparently part of the problem is somebody said they don't really have, it's being reported, and again, take it with a grain of salt, but it's being reported that WWE doesn't have a long-term plan in place. And they're just playing it by ear, week to week. Well, I'm like, it's one thing to kind of leave it open-ended so you can change things, but you kind of do have to have an idea of a beginning, middle, and end. You have to know, okay, when Nexus is over, we want this. And you have to work towards that.
Right, and I think another problem is, and I don't want to be too hard on them because, again, they're all young guys and they're all getting their big break in the business, but I don't think they're ready for the spot. I think on paper it's a very good angle. It's, a bunch of young guys that are coming in, debuting, and they want to make their mark and they want to own the wrestling world right off the bat. And I think that's a great idea. The problem is I don't think a lot of these guys are ready for that kind of an angle. Now, if they wanted to do something like this with The Miz, Morrison maybe, Evan Bourne, and a bunch of guys that are, they've been there for a while, but they're still kind of young and haven't really had their main event pushes yet, that probably would work better.
Right. I agree with you. Honestly, I think the only one that I really am interested in Nexus is Wade Barrett. Mm-hmm. He's kind of like the one I think that if there's one that's ready for prime time, it's Wade Barrett. I mean, Tonga's awful. Skip Sheffield's not that good. I'm not really impressed with Michael Tarver. Justin Gabriel, I think, could be kind of a cool high flyer, but, he's got a lot of work to do on the microphone. He's a maybe. I agree with you. I think it's that the guys are all really young. And I also don't think it helps that John Cena, even though they claim, they've never gone, they keep getting the best of John Cena keeps playing them out single-handedly. The end of the pay-per-view was next round after John Cena beat him up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's what they do with Cena. He's Superman, so he has to beat up 20 people. And I didn't like it when that was part of the problem with Steve Austin at the end of his run in 2002. Austin was kind of getting the best of the NWO every week. I'm like, well, I don't care anymore because Austin wins all the time, so who cares? It's not like 98 where Vince would outsmart him, or Vince would have him arrested, or find some way to screw him out of the title. Or, Austin. There were cases where Austin had to lose. The best example would be Breakdown 98, where you put him in there in what was essentially a handicap match against Kane and Undertaker. He should get squashed, and that's pretty much what happened. And stuff like that makes storylines more interesting. But when you book somebody like a Superman all the time, the well dries a lot quicker.
Right. I mean, here's the thing. Hulk Hogan at his peak, even though people think, oh, he was always Superman, he really wasn't. I mean, WrestleMania 2, he went in with broken ribs. The Earthquake feud, he was hurt. Or, in storyline purposes, Yeah, WrestleMania 1, even though, they didn't really have him, hurt, there was the idea of, okay, he's working with Mr. T, and Mr. T's not a wrestler. Who knows how he's going to handle Piper and Orndorff?
Right, I'll tell you, my favorite year of Hogan's face run in the WWF, from a creative standpoint, my favorite year was 1990 because that was the year he was most human. He lost to Warrior at WrestleMania, which was kind of a shock, and then he got his ass kicked by Earthquake, which, that was the first time they'd ever talked about him possibly retiring, which, obviously didn't happen. But things like that made him more interesting as a babyface.
And on that note, I should go into work.
Okay.
I'll talk to you next week, Patrick. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
All right, thank you. All right, that was Nick Knoll, and he has left the line. So for James Walsh, our Lord Master at the Wrestling Epicenter, for Nick Knoll, I am Pat Owen. Thanks again to everybody for listening, and thank you to the Stro for being our guest tonight. Very fun interview. I hope you all enjoyed it. Tune in next week, and have fun, everybody. Good night.